June 15, 1944, Saipan Island, Mariana Islands. Dawn breaks blood red over the Pacific as 71,000 American troops storm ashore. The 2nd Marine Division hits the left flank while the 4th Marine Division charges the right. Behind the naval gunfire curtain, Japanese Lieutenant General Yoshitsugu Saito watches through his field glasses as the largest amphibious force yet assembled in the Pacific theater tears into his defenses. By nightfall, American forces will control the vital airfield. By July 9th, a Japanese admiral will declare that their war was lost with the loss of Saipan. But this crushing defeat represents just one chapter in a 3-year Pacific Lightning War that began in the malarial jungles of Guadalcanal and would end in the sulfur caves of Iwo Jima. The story starts 22 months earlier in a place most Americans had never heard of. August 7, 1942, Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands. The 1st Marine Division, barely a year old and commanded by Major General Alexander van de Grift, hits Red Beach at 0910 hours. These are the first American ground troops to take the offensive against the Empire of Japan anywhere in the world. Behind them stretches a 7,000-mile supply line to California. Ahead lies Henderson Field, a partially completed Japanese airstrip that threatens the sea routes to Australia. The 1st Marine Division, soon to be known as the Old Breed, represents something entirely new in military history. It is the first division-sized integrated amphibious striking force in the United States military. Every regiment, every battalion, every company has been trained specifically for one mission: storming Japanese-held beaches and seizing territory from a fanatical enemy who has never known defeat. The landing catches the Japanese garrison completely off guard. Construction workers flee into the jungle. Korean laborers abandon their work sites. By afternoon, the Marines control the airfield and rename it Henderson Field after Major Lofton Henderson, killed at the Battle of Midway. But holding the field will prove far more difficult than taking it. For the next 4 months, the Old Breed fights a campaign unlike anything in American military experience. Japanese destroyers race down the slot every night in what Marines call the Tokyo Express, delivering reinforcements and shelling Henderson Field. During the day, Marine fighters and dive bombers operating from the captured airstrip attack Japanese positions and intercept incoming bomber raids. On the ground, Marines patrol through triple canopy jungle where visibility extends barely 20 feet and Japanese snipers can remain hidden for days. The physical toll proves as devastating as enemy action. Within weeks, malaria strikes down entire companies. Dysentery leaves men too weak to patrol. Fungal infections rot through jungle boots in days. Rations run low as Japanese submarines and aircraft attack supply convoys. The 1st Marine Division loses 650 killed in action and 1,278 wounded, but disease claims 8,580 men, more than 10 times the battle casualties. On December 9, 1942, the Army's 25th Infantry Division arrives to relieve the Marines. The Tropic Lightning Division, activated just 2 months before Pearl Harbor at Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, represents the speed and mobility that will define American Pacific operations. Their lightning bolt shoulder patch perfectly captures their operational doctrine: strike fast, strike hard, move on. The 25th Infantry pushes west along the coastline while other Army units advance inland. In 31 days of continuous combat, they shatter the remaining Japanese resistance. The speed of their victory earns them their official nickname, Tropic Lightning, adopted formally by the Army in 1953. More importantly, their success proves that American ground forces can defeat Japanese troops in jungle warfare. By February 5, 1943, organized Japanese resistance on Guadalcanal ends. The cost has been enormous for both sides. American forces suffer 1,592 killed and 4,183 wounded, with thousands more felled by disease. But Japanese losses prove catastrophic: 14,800 killed in action and 9,000 dead from disease, with only 1,000 captured. The Imperial Japanese Navy loses destroyers, cruisers, and irreplaceable veteran aircrews. Most critically, Japan loses the strategic initiative in the Pacific. The victory at Guadalcanal provides American planners with the template for future operations. Seize a Japanese-held island, establish airbases and supply depots, then leapfrog to the next target. The strategy requires specialized units capable of rapid deployment and sustained combat in the world's most challenging environments. The Marine Corps begins expanding from 2 to 6 divisions while the Army creates new formations like the Americal Division, named for America and New Caledonia. The Americal Division makes history on Guadalcanal when its 164th Infantry Regiment becomes the first United States Army unit to conduct offensive operations against Japan in any theater. Unlike other divisions built around peacetime cadres, the Americal forms overseas from scattered regiments and support units. This improvised birth overseas proves prophetic. It becomes the only unnumbered division in Army history and the only division to be formed and disbanded outside the United States. As 1943 progresses, American amphibious forces spread across the Pacific like a steel tide. In November, the 3rd Marine Division storms ashore at Bougainville. Activated just over a year earlier at Camp Elliott, California, the 3rd represents the Marine Corps' rapid expansion from a small colonial force to a modern combined arms organization. During 69 days of jungle fighting, they secure a perimeter around a vital airbase that brings Rabaul within range of American bombers. The 3rd Marine Division's performance at Bougainville demonstrates the evolution of American amphibious doctrine. Instead of attempting to control entire islands, Marines seize key points, airfields, harbors, supply depots, and establish defensive perimeters. Japanese forces, isolated and cut off from resupply, gradually starve and weaken while American air power pounds their positions daily. This strategy reached perfection in the Marshall Islands campaign of early 1944. The 4th Marine Division, formed at Camp Pendleton in February 1943, achieves the impossible, going directly from training to combat with no overseas deployment. On February 1, 1944, they assaulted Roy Namur in Kwajalein Atoll. In just 24 hours and 15 minutes, they capture the entire island complex. The 4th Marine Division sets 3 unprecedented records: 1st Division to enter combat directly from the United States, first to capture Japanese mandated territory, and fastest to secure major objectives since Pearl Harbor. The speed of American success in the Marshalls convinces Japanese commanders that their defensive strategy has failed. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto's carefully planned outer defensive ring stretching from the Aleutians through the Marshalls to Rabaul has collapsed in less than 18 months. American amphibious forces now threaten the inner defensive perimeter protecting Japan itself. In response, Japanese strategists concentrate their remaining resources on 3 critical island groups: the Marianas, the Carolines, and the Philippines. The Marianas, specifically Saipan, Tinian, and Guam, represent the absolute innermost defensive line. From these islands, Japanese aircraft can intercept American B-29 raids on the homeland. More ominously for Japan, the Marianas within range of American bombers placed every major Japanese city within range of strategic bombing. American planners understand the stakes perfectly. Admiral Chester Nimitz assigns massive resources to Operation Forager, the assault on the Marianas. For the first time in Pacific War history, multiple Marine divisions will assault simultaneously under unified command. The 2nd and 4th Marine Divisions will hit Saipan while the 3rd Marine Division and the 1st Provisional Marine Brigade assault Guam. The 2nd Marine Division brings veteran experience to Saipan. Bloodied at Tarawa 6 months earlier, they learned hard lessons about amphibious warfare against fortified positions. At Tarawa, Japanese defenders claimed it would take 1 million men 100 years to conquer the atoll. The 2nd Marine Division proved them wrong in 76 hours, but at a terrible cost: 894 Marines killed and 2,188 wounded out of 12,000 who went ashore. The casualty rate of over 25% shocked American commanders and forced major changes in amphibious doctrine. Those changes proved their worth at Saipan. Instead of the brief 2-day bombardment that preceded Tarawa, Admiral Raymond Spruance ordered continuous shelling for a week. Instead of attacking directly into the strongest defenses, Marines hit multiple beaches simultaneously to divide Japanese attention. Instead of single division assaults, 2 Marine divisions attacked side by side with Army reserves ready to reinforce success. The morning of June 15, 1944, transforms the strategic balance of the Pacific War. At 0812 hours, The first wave of amphibious vehicles crosses the reef line toward Saipan's western beaches. The 2nd Marine Division assaults the left while the 4th Marine Division hits the right. Behind them follow waves of Sherman tanks, artillery pieces, and supply vehicles. Japanese defenders, commanded by Lieutenant General Yoshitsugu Saito, fight with desperate courage. The 43rd Infantry Division of the Imperial Japanese Army has spent months preparing elaborate cave and tunnel systems. Every beach approach is covered by interlocking fields of fire. Every hill has been turned into a fortress. General Saito has 31,000 troops and believes Saipan represents Japan's last chance to blunt American advances. But the Americans bring overwhelming firepower. 7 battleships deliver precise naval gunfire support. Over 200 carrier aircraft provide continuous close air support. Marine artillery observers call down massed fires from dozens of 105mm and 155mm howitzers. Most critically, American forces achieve complete air superiority over the battlefield. Japanese pilots attempting to defend Saipan encounter the 2nd Marine Division's aviation arm flying F-6F Hellcats and F-4U Corsairs. These American fighters, products of rapid technological advancement, outclass every Japanese aircraft. The Hellcats' kill ratio against Japanese fighters exceeds 19-1. The Corsairs' speed and climbing ability make it nearly invulnerable to interception. Within 48 hours, Japanese air power over the Marianas ceases to exist. Ground combat proves equally one-sided once American forces move inland. The 4th Marine Division's Sherman tanks, armed with 75mm guns and protected by 3 inches of armor, easily destroy Japanese positions. The medium M4 Sherman outclasses every Japanese tank in the Pacific. Neither the light Type 95 Ha-Go nor the medium Type 97 Chi-Ha can penetrate Sherman armor frontally. Japanese anti-tank weapons, designed to stop lighter American vehicles, prove nearly useless against the heavily armored Shermans. More devastating than tanks is American artillery. The 2nd Marine Division's 105mm howitzers, guided by forward observers with radio communications, deliver accurate fire within minutes of request. Japanese defenders, accustomed to fighting Chinese forces with limited artillery support, have never experienced such concentrated firepower. General Saito later writes in his final dispatch, "If there just were no naval gunfire, we feel we could fight it out with the enemy in a decisive battle." By June 20th, American forces controlled Saipan's vital Aslito airfield. B-24 Liberators begin operating from the captured field within 48 hours. The strategic implications become immediately clear to Japanese leadership. Prime Minister Hideki Tojo, architect of Japan's Pacific expansion, submitted his resignation on July 18th. A Japanese admiral privately admits, "Our war was lost with the loss of Saipan. The crushing of Japanese resistance on Saipan requires 25 days of continuous combat." The 2nd Marine Division suffers 3,100 killed and 13,000 wounded out of 71,000 assault troops. The 4th Marine Division endures similar losses. But Japanese casualties prove catastrophic: approximately 30,000 military personnel killed out of 31,000 defenders. Organized resistance ends when at least 3,000 Japanese soldiers die in a final suicidal attack on July 7th. Even as Saipan falls, American forces assault neighboring Tinian. The 4th Marine Division, veterans of 2 previous amphibious assaults, demonstrates the evolution of American tactics. Instead of attacking the obvious landing beaches near Tinian town, they assault 2 small beaches on the island's northwest coast. The 2nd Marine Division conducts an elaborate feint near the main defenses while the 4th Marine Division establishes the real beachhead. The deception succeeds perfectly. Japanese defenders, commanded by Colonel Keiichi Ogata, concentrate their forces around Tinian town while Marines pour ashore virtually unopposed on the northwest beaches. Within 72 hours, the 4th Marine Division controlled Tinian's 3 airfields. The entire island fell in 9 days with Japanese losses exceeding 9,000 killed against 290 American dead and 1,515 wounded. Tinian's capture provides the ultimate proof of American technological and tactical superiority. The island becomes the largest operational airbase in the world, hosting 4 runways each over 8,000 feet long. From these airfields, B-29 superfortresses began systematic bombing of Japanese cities. More ominously, Tinian becomes the base for the 509th Composite Group and their specially modified B-29s Enola Gay and Boxcar. The third phase of Operation Forager targets Guam, 100 miles south of Saipan. The assault force includes the 3rd Marine Division, veterans of Bougainville, and the 1st Provisional Marine Brigade, formed around veterans of other campaigns. Together, they represent the largest marine amphibious force yet assembled. The 3rd Marine Division lands at Asen Beach on July 21st, while the 1st Provisional Marine Brigade hits Agate Beach to the south. Japanese defenders, led by Lieutenant General Takashi Takashina, fight from prepared positions throughout the island's interior. Guam's mountainous terrain and thick jungle provide perfect defensive terrain, but American firepower proves overwhelming. Marine close air support reaches new levels of effectiveness on Guam. F-4U Corsairs, operating from escort carriers offshore, provide immediate response to ground requests. Marine pilots, trained specifically for close air support missions, deliver napalm, rockets, and machine gun fire within 100 yards of friendly troops. The psychological effect on Japanese defenders proves as devastating as the physical damage. After 21 days of fighting, the 3rd Marine Division controls Guam. The cost includes over 1,400 American casualties, but Japanese losses exceed 18,000 killed. More importantly, Guam provides a major naval and aviation base just 1,300 miles from Tokyo. American B-29s based on Guam begin regular raids on Japanese industrial centers by fall 1944. The Marianas campaign represents the decisive turning point of the Pacific War. In 90 days, 3 Marine divisions and 1 Army division have captured the strategic heart of Japan's Pacific Empire. The loss of the Marianas cuts Japan's communication lines to the South Pacific and places the homeland within range of strategic bombing. Japanese naval aviation, attempting to defend the islands, suffers catastrophic losses in the Battle of the Philippine Sea, losing over 400 aircraft and many irreplaceable veteran pilots. But American forces have only begun their systematic destruction of Japanese defenses. In September 1944, the 1st Marine Division returns to combat at Peleliu in the Palau Islands. Major General William Rupertus, commanding the Old Breed, confidently predicts the battle will be tough but short, over in 3 or 4 days, a fight like Tarawa. Rupertus could not be more wrong. The Japanese 14th Infantry Division, commanded by Colonel Kunio Nakagawa, has spent months preparing the most sophisticated defensive system yet encountered in the Pacific. Instead of defending on the beaches, Japanese forces retreat into Peleliu's limestone caves and ridges. The Umurbergal Massif, soon known to Marines as Bloody Nose Ridge, becomes a fortress of interconnected tunnels, firing positions, and supply dumps. The 1st Marine Division storms ashore on September 15th expecting rapid victory. Instead, they encounter hell. Japanese defenders, hidden in cave systems up to 5 levels deep, allow Marine assault waves to pass before emerging to attack from behind. Pre-registered artillery and mortar fire turns landing beaches into killing zones. Carefully concealed machine gun positions enfilade every approach. The 1st Marines, commanded by Colonel Louis Chesty Puller, suffered devastating losses attempting to seize the Umurbergal ridges. Companies that land with 200 men are reduced to 50 or fewer within hours. The regiment loses 56% of its strength in 10 days and must be withdrawn from combat. K Company, 3rd Battalion, which lands with 235 men, finishes the battle with just 18 able to carry weapons. The ferocity of fighting at Peleliu shocks even veteran Marines. Eugene Sledge, a rifleman with the 1st Marine Division, later writes that Peleliu represents the most vicious and stubbornly defended battle of the war. Japanese defenders fight literally to the last man of 10,000 Japanese troops on Peleliu. Only 301 survive to be captured. The remainder die in their cave systems or in futile counterattacks. American casualties at Peleliu exceed 9,500 killed and wounded out of 28,000 assault troops. The 1st Marine Division alone suffers 6,500 casualties, over 1/3 of its strength. The 81st Infantry Division, brought in to relieve the Marines, endures another 3,300 casualties. Post-war analysis reveals that American forces expend over 1,500 rounds of ammunition for every Japanese defender killed. Despite the horrific cost, Peleliu provides crucial lessons for future operations. Japanese defensive tactics, emphasizing defense in depth rather than beach defense, foreshadow the battles to come. American forces develop new techniques for cave warfare, including the systematic use of flamethrowers, demolition charges, and coordinated tank infantry attacks. Most importantly, the brutal nature of Peleliu prepares American commanders for the even more terrible battles ahead. As 1944 ends, American amphibious forces prepare for their most ambitious operation yet, the invasion of Luzon in the Philippines. General Douglas MacArthur's promise to return requires massive ground forces capable of sustained combat against the largest Japanese garrison in the Pacific. The 1st Cavalry Division, converted from horse cavalry to dismounted infantry, spearheads the assault on Lingayen Gulf. The 1st Cavalry Division represents American adaptability and innovation. Originally formed as traditional horse cavalry in 1921, technological advancement rendered mounted warfare obsolete by 1940. Instead of disbanding the unit, the Army retrained the division for modern warfare while preserving its cavalry traditions and aggressive spirit. The division's mobility and initiative perfectly suit Pacific operations. On January 9, 1945, the 1st Cavalry Division leads the largest amphibious assault in Pacific War history. Over 200,000 troops storm ashore at Lingayen Gulf on Luzon's western coast. The landing force exceeds the combined Allied strength at Normandy, demonstrating America's growing military power. Behind the assault waves follow massive logistics units, engineering battalions, and aviation groups. The 1st Cavalry Division races inland with characteristic speed and aggression. Operating as a flying column, cavalry troopers advance 50 miles in 72 hours, sometimes at speeds exceeding 50 miles per hour. Their mission: capture Manila before Japanese forces can destroy the port facilities and civilian infrastructure. The race for the Philippine capital becomes a contest between American mobility and Japanese defensive preparations. Japanese resistance centers around General Tomoyuki Yamashita's 14th Area Army, over 250,000 troops dispersed throughout Luzon's mountains and cities. Yamashita, the conqueror of Singapore, understands that he cannot defeat American forces in open battle. Instead, he adopts a strategy of delay and attrition, hoping to inflict maximum casualties while buying time for Japan's homeland defenses. The 1st Cavalry Division smashes through Japanese delaying positions with combined arms tactics perfected over 3 years of Pacific combat. Sherman tanks provide mobile firepower while artillery observers call down immediate support from 105mm and 155mm howitzers. P-51 Mustangs and P-47 Thunderbolts, operating from captured airfields, deliver close air support within minutes of request. On February 3rd, elements of the 1st Cavalry Division reach Manila's northern suburbs. The 8th Cavalry Regiment, organized as dismounted infantry, enters the city proper that evening. But capturing Manila requires a month of vicious urban warfare as Japanese Marines fight building by building through the ancient city. The Battle of Manila becomes one of the most destructive urban battles of World War II, with over 100,000 Filipino civilians killed. While cavalry troopers fight in Manila's streets, the 25th Infantry Division advances through central Luzon toward the Caraballo Mountains. Tropic lightning faces some of the war's most challenging terrain: steep ridges, narrow valleys, and heavily fortified Japanese positions. The division's rapid advance through rice paddies and jungle proves that American ground forces have mastered every form of warfare. The 25th Infantry Division destroys much of the remaining Japanese armor on Luzon during their advance through the Central Plains. Japanese tank units, equipped with obsolete Type 95 and Type 97 tanks, prove helpless against American Sherman tanks and tank destroyers. The technological gap that opened at Guadalcanal has become an unbridgeable chasm by 1945. On May 13th, the 25th Infantry Division captures Balit Pass, opening the gateway to the Cagayan Valley. This victory effectively ends Japanese resistance in northern Luzon and seals the fate of General Yamashita's remaining forces. Tropic Lightning's rapid advance and decisive victory demonstrate the overwhelming superiority American forces have achieved over their Japanese opponents. But the ultimate test of American amphibious warfare awaits on a sulfur-stained island 750 miles south of Tokyo. Iwo Jima, part of Japan's home islands, represents the most formidable defensive position ever assaulted by American forces. The island's garrison, commanded by General Tadamaki Kurabayashi, has spent over a year preparing defenses that represent the pinnacle of Japanese military engineering. 3 Marine divisions, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, prepare for what military planners know will be the bloodiest battle in Marine Corps history. The 5th Marine Division, activated at Camp Pendleton in January 1944, represents the newest addition to the Marine Order of Battle. Built around veterans of disbanded parachute and raider units, the 5th Marine Division embodies aggressive spirit and elite training. The 5th Marine Division earns the nickname Spearhead during training in Hawaii. Their rapid deployment from the United States to Hawaii to Iwo Jima in just 13 months demonstrates American industrial and logistical capability. No other military force in history has created, trained, and deployed combat divisions with such speed and efficiency. February 19, 1945, dawns clear and cold over Iwo Jima. At 0900 hours, the 4th and 5th Marine Divisions hit the beaches while the 3rd Marine Division remains in floating reserve. The assault force totals 70,000 Marines, the largest marine operation in history. Behind them stretches the most powerful naval and aviation armada ever assembled. The landing initially appears unopposed. Marines advance 200 yards inland before Japanese defenders reveal their strategy. Instead of defending on the beaches, General Kurabayashi has deployed his 21,000 troops in elaborate cave and tunnel systems throughout the island's interior. Every hill, every ravine, every possible position has been fortified and connected by underground passages. The 5th Marine Division, landing on the left flank, immediately encounters the full fury of Japanese defenses. Mount Suribachi, the island's most prominent feature, erupts with artillery, mortar, and machine gun fire. Japanese positions, invisible from the air and immune to naval bombardment, pour devastating fire into the landing beaches. Within hours, American casualties mount alarmingly. The 5th Marine Division suffers so heavily that reserve battalions must be committed on the first day. The 26th Marine Regiment, originally held in Division Reserve, goes into action before noon. The speed and intensity of combat exceeds even veteran expectations. 4 days later, on February 23rd, Marines of the 28th Regiment, 5th Marine Division, raised the American flag on Mount Suribachi's summit. The iconic photograph, captured by Associated Press photographer Joe Rosenthal, becomes the most famous image of the Pacific War. But the flag-raising marks only the beginning of 5 more weeks of incredibly savage fighting. The 4th Marine Division, attacking toward Iwo Jima's eastern coast, encounters equally fierce resistance. Veterans of 4 previous amphibious assaults, the 4th Marine Division has never faced anything approaching Iwo Jima's defensive complexity. Japanese positions, carved deep into volcanic rock, withstand direct hits from battleship guns and massive bomber attacks. Innovation becomes essential for survival. Marine tank battalions modify their Sherman tanks with flame-throwing equipment, creating mobile weapons capable of clearing cave systems. By the battle's end, these flame tanks consume between 5,000 and 10,000 gallons of napalm daily. The psychological effect on Japanese defenders proves as important as the physical destruction. Close air support reaches unprecedented levels of coordination on Iwo Jima. Marine pilots, flying F-4U Corsairs from escort carriers, provide immediate response to ground requests. Radio-equipped forward air controllers, embedded with assault companies, direct airstrikes within 100 yards of Marine positions. The integration of air and ground forces represents the culmination of 3 years of tactical development. Most critically, American forces achieve complete suppression of Japanese artillery through counter-battery fire. Marine artillery observers, equipped with advanced radio communications, identify Japanese gun positions and coordinate massed fires from offshore battleships and cruisers. The systematic destruction of Japanese artillery saves countless American lives and demonstrates the lethal effectiveness of combined arms warfare. The 3rd Marine Division joins the battle on February 25 when Japanese resistance proves stronger than anticipated. Veterans of Bougainville, Guam, and numerous smaller operations, the 3rd Marine Division provides the additional combat power needed to break Japanese resistance. 3 Marine divisions fighting side by side represents the largest concentration of Marine forces in history. Combat on Iwo Jima reaches levels of intensity unknown in previous Pacific battles. Companies land with 200 men and finish with 20 or fewer. Battalions suffer 50% casualties and continue fighting. Regiments rotate through the front lines but never leave combat entirely. The sustained nature of the fighting tests American endurance and logistics to their limits. Japanese defenders fight with unprecedented determination and skill. General Kuribayashi's defensive plan eliminates traditional banzai charges in favor of methodical defensive warfare. Japanese troops fight from positions until literally buried by American firepower, then emerge from hidden tunnels to attack from behind. The defense of Iwo Jima represents the most professional and effective Japanese resistance of the entire war. By March 16, organized Japanese resistance ends, but fighting continues for 10 more days. The 5th Marine Division suffers the highest casualties of the 3 divisions, committed 2,482 killed and 6,218 wounded out of approximately 19,000 men landed. The 4th Marine Division endures 9,098 casualties, almost half its strength. The 3rd Marine Division adds another 1,131 killed and 4,438 wounded. Total American casualties on Iwo Jima exceed 26,000 out of 70,000 Marines committed. The 36-day battle becomes the costliest in Marine Corps history, but it provides several crucial advantages. Iwo Jima's airfields allow damaged B-29s to make emergency landings, saving thousands of aircrews. More importantly, the savage nature of fighting on Iwo Jima convinces American planners that the invasion of Japan itself would produce catastrophic casualties. The lessons learned from Iwo Jima directly influence planning for Operation Downfall, the proposed invasion of Japan. Military planners estimate that Japanese resistance on the home islands would exceed even Iwo Jima's ferocity. Casualty projections for downfall range from 500,000 to over 1 million American killed and wounded. These estimates strongly influence President Harry Truman's decision to use atomic weapons rather than launch a ground invasion. Before that decision, however, American forces undertake their final Pacific amphibious operation, the invasion of Okinawa. The 1st and 6th Marine Divisions join 4 Army divisions in the largest Pacific battle of the war. Okinawa, just 350 miles from Japan's home islands, represents the final stepping stone to invasion of Japan itself. The 6th Marine Division makes its combat debut on Okinawa. Formed overseas in September 1944, the 6th represents unique characteristics in Marine Corps history. Built around the 1st Provisional Marine Brigade, veterans of Guam, and reinforced with veterans from other campaigns, the 6th Marine Division never serves in the United States. Formed overseas and disbanded overseas, it becomes the only Marine division never to set foot on American soil. Despite being newly formed, the 6th Marine Division contains enormous combat experience. Over 70% of its personnel are combat veterans of at least one campaign. Many serve their 2nd or 3rd combat tours. The integration of experienced leaders with new replacements creates an immediately effective fighting force. On April 1, 1945, the 6th Marine Division lands on Okinawa's western beaches as part of the largest amphibious assault in Pacific War history. Over 180,000 troops go ashore on L-Day, exceeding even the Normandy landings 9 months earlier. The initial landing meets no resistance as Japanese defenders, commanded by Lieutenant General Mitsuru Ushijima, implement a defense-in-depth strategy learned from previous defeats. The 6th Marine Division advances rapidly through northern Okinawa, encountering only scattered resistance. Their mission includes clearing the Motobu Peninsula and its vital airfields. Marine units advance so rapidly that Army commanders express surprise and admiration. The division covers more ground in the first week than some Army units advance in a month. But southern Okinawa presents an entirely different challenge. The 6th Marine Division, moving into position alongside the 1st Marine Division, encounters the most sophisticated defensive system ever constructed by Japanese forces. The Shuri line, anchored on Shuri Castle and extending across southern Okinawa, contains thousands of interconnected positions, tunnels, and fortified caves. The battle for Sugar Loaf Hill becomes the 6th Marine Division's defining moment. This seemingly insignificant 50-foot elevation overlooks the approaches to Shuri and forms the western anchor of Japanese defenses. Company G, 22nd Marines, assaults Sugar Loaf repeatedly between May 12 and May 18, losing 75% of its strength in continuous fighting. The tactics required to capture Sugar Loaf demonstrate how far American amphibious warfare has evolved since Guadalcanal. Instead of frontal attacks, Marines coordinate combined arms assaults using tanks, artillery, aircraft, and infantry. Each attack includes precise timing, detailed planning, and immediate exploitation of success. The systematic reduction of Japanese positions showcases American tactical sophistication. Sugar Loaf Hill finally falls to the 6th Marine Division after consuming over 3,000 casualties. The cost appears enormous for such a small objective, but Sugar Loaf's capture breaks the western flank of the Shuri line and forces the Japanese withdrawal from their strongest positions. Within days, the 1st Marine Division captures Shuri Castle itself, effectively ending organized Japanese resistance in southern Okinawa. The Okinawa campaign lasts 82 days and results in over 12,000 American killed and 38,000 wounded. Japanese losses exceed 120,000 military personnel, plus tens of thousands of Okinawan civilians. The savage nature of fighting on Okinawa, combined with the horrific civilian casualties, reinforces American determination to avoid invading Japan's main islands if possible. By June 1945, American Marine and Army divisions have achieved complete domination of the Pacific. From Guadalcanal to Okinawa, they have demonstrated consistent tactical and technological superiority over Japanese forces. The evolution from the desperate fighting on Guadalcanal to the systematic destruction of Japanese positions on Okinawa represents one of military history's most remarkable transformations. The 6 Marine divisions and 3 Army divisions examined here share common characteristics that explain their success. All receive intensive training in amphibious warfare, combined arms tactics, and jungle fighting. All benefit from superior equipment, especially tanks, artillery, and aircraft. All enjoy overwhelming logistic support that allows sustained operations thousands of miles from home bases. Most importantly, all these divisions learn and adapt from each battle. Lessons from Guadalcanal influence tactics at Tarawa. Experiences at Tarawa shape planning for Saipan. Techniques developed at Saipan prove crucial at Iwo Jima. This continuous learning process, supported by American industrial capacity and technological innovation, creates an unstoppable military machine. Japanese military leaders, watching their empire crumble under American assault, recognize the fundamental shift in Pacific warfare. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto's prediction that Japan could fight successfully for 6 months proves remarkably accurate. After Midway and Guadalcanal, Japanese forces never again achieved strategic initiative. American amphibious divisions, supported by overwhelming naval and air power, systematically dismantle Japan's Pacific Empire island by island. The speed of American victory surprises even optimistic planners. Operations that planners estimate will require months are completed in weeks. Islands that Japanese commanders boast will take years to capture fall in days. The combination of American material superiority, tactical innovation, and aggressive leadership proves devastating to Japanese defensive plans. Technology plays a crucial role in American success, but human factors prove equally important. The Marine and Army divisions that fight across the Pacific demonstrate extraordinary courage, endurance, and adaptability. From the malarial jungles of Guadalcanal to the volcanic caves of Iwo Jima, American troops consistently outfight Japanese forces despite operating thousands of miles from home. The cost of victory remains enormous. The 9 divisions examined here suffer combined casualties exceeding 200,000 killed and wounded. Individual battles like Iwo Jima and Okinawa approach the intensity of Western Front fighting in World War I. But American industrial capacity replaces equipment losses quickly while medical advances save wounded who would have died in previous wars. Japanese forces, despite fighting with desperate courage and considerable skill, cannot match American material and tactical advantages. The empire that began the Pacific War with veteran troops and modern equipment ends it with poorly trained conscripts using obsolete weapons. The systematic destruction of Japanese merchant shipping eliminates resupply possibilities while American forces grow stronger with each operation. By August 1945, Japanese military leaders privately acknowledge that continued resistance is hopeless. The loss of the Marianas, Philippines, and Okinawa has cut Japan's communication lines and placed the home islands under direct attack. American B-29s, operating from captured bases, systematically destroy Japanese cities and industrial centers. The prospect of American invasion, supported by the proven capabilities of Marine and Army divisions, looms as the final catastrophe. The atomic attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki provide Japan's leaders with a face-saving excuse to surrender. But the underlying cause of Japanese defeat lies in the systematic destruction of their Pacific Empire by American amphibious forces. From August 1942 to June 1945, 9 American divisions, 6 Marine and 3 Army have demonstrated absolute superiority in amphibious warfare, jungle fighting, and combined arms operations. Emperor Hirohito's surrender broadcast on August 15, 1945, ends the Pacific War without the massive invasion of Japan that American planners have been preparing. The 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th Marine Divisions, along with the 1st Cavalry Division, 25th Infantry Division, and Americal Division, have achieved their ultimate mission, forcing Japanese surrender through relentless offensive action. The legacy of these divisions extends far beyond their World War II achievements. Their innovations in amphibious warfare, combined arms tactics, and rapid deployment influenced military doctrine for decades. The techniques developed in Pacific fighting shape American military operations in Korea, Vietnam, and beyond. Most importantly, their demonstration that free societies can create military forces superior to totalitarian armies provides lasting inspiration for democratic nations worldwide. The 3-year campaign from Guadalcanal to Okinawa represents more than military victory. It demonstrates American industrial capacity, technological innovation, and democratic resilience. The transformation of a small peacetime military into the world's most powerful fighting force occurs with remarkable speed and efficiency. The Marine and Army divisions that fight across the Pacific embody American values: initiative, adaptability, and determination to protect freedom against tyranny. In the end, Japan's stunning defeat results not from any single battle or technological breakthrough, but from the systematic application of American advantages by superbly trained and led military units. The 1st Marine Division's courage at Guadalcanal, the 4th Marine Division's speed in the Marshalls, the 2nd Marine Division's persistence at Saipan, the 5th Marine Division's sacrifice at Iwo Jima, the 6th Marine Division's innovation at Okinawa, combined with the 1st Cavalry Division's mobility in the Philippines, the 25th Infantry Division's rapid advances on Luzon, and the Americal Division's pioneering role throughout the Pacific, create an unstoppable force that sweeps Japanese resistance from the Pacific Ocean and brings the Empire of Japan to its knees.